is the White Raven. 23 people died in the fire, but only 22 voices came through the radio. The 23rd voice was never supposed to be heard. Lucas sat motionless at his workbench. The police officer standing across from him repeated the question. "Mr. Hale, can you tell me where you've been?" Lucas stared at him. "I've been here." "For how long?" Lucas looked toward the clock. 2:13 a.m. The officer followed his gaze. "It's 6 in the morning." Lucas slowly turned back. The clock now read 6:01. He frowned. "I must have been asleep." The officer exchanged a glance with his partner. "You've been missing for 3 days." Lucas didn't answer. 3 days. He remembered the motel, the staircase, room 18, his father, the burnt faces. But he remembered something else. Something he couldn't explain. He remembered being 8 years old, sitting behind a microphone, and hearing someone whisper, "When the 23rd voice speaks, don't listen." The police searched the workshop. They found no signs of a struggle. No blood, no damaged equipment, nothing, except the radio. The same antique radio Lucas had tried to destroy. One officer pointed toward it. "What's that?" Lucas didn't answer. "Mr. Hale." Lucas looked at the radio. "I don't know." The officer frowned. "You don't know?" "No." The radio clicked. Both officers jumped. Static filled the room. Lucas stared at it. The officer reached for his gun. A voice emerged. Quiet. Distorted. "Don't let them take him." The officer looked at Lucas. "Was that you?" Lucas shook his head. The radio spoke again. "He's not Lucas." Silence. The officer slowly raised his weapon. Lucas backed away. What did it say? The radio remained silent. Then, "He's not Lucas." The lights went out. When they came back on, the officers were gone. Lucas was alone. The front door stood open. Rain blew across the floor. The radio was still playing. Lucas approached it. "Who are you?" Static. "Who are you?" Nothing. Then a whisper. "Ask yourself." Lucas stared at his reflection in the radio's glass. For a moment, it looked normal. Then the reflection smiled. Lucas didn't. The reflection raised its hand. Lucas' hand remained at his side. The reflection pointed toward the back room. Lucas turned. Nothing. When he looked back, the reflection was normal again. Lucas spent the next several hours searching through his father's belongings. He had never wanted to do this before. Maybe because some part of him had always known the truth was buried there. In an old metal box, he found photographs. His father, his mother, the radio station, and Lucas. But the photographs made no sense. One showed Lucas standing outside WCRP in 1989. Another showed him inside the studio. Another showed him standing beside room 18. Lucas stared at the dates. Every photograph had been taken on the same night, June 23rd, 1989. Then he found a cassette. The label was handwritten, "For Lucas when he returns." His hands began trembling. He found an old cassette player. Press play. Static. Then his father's voice. "Lucas, if you're hearing this, something went wrong." Lucas leaned closer. "I don't know how much you'll remember." Pause. "But you need to understand something." Static crackled. The fire wasn't an accident. Lucas stopped breathing. His father's voice continued. "We were trying to destroy the transmitter." Lucas looked toward the radio. "We discovered a frequency that shouldn't exist." The recording distorted. "It doesn't belong to any station." Static. Lucas whispered, "It doesn't belong to this world." What? His father's voice became quieter. "When we found it, we thought we had discovered a new broadcast frequency." A long pause. "We were wrong." The cassette continued. Every time someone listened to the frequency, the frequency learned their voice. Lucas closed his eyes. First, it copied their words. Static. Then their memories. More static. Then his father's voice broke. "Their identity." Lucas looked at his reflection in the window. The reflection was staring back, but its lips weren't moving. The voice continued. "Daniel was the first person it took." Lucas whispered, "Daniel." Then the others. 22 people. 22 voices. But his father sounded terrified. "There's one problem." Static. "The frequency needs a final voice." Lucas leaned toward the speaker. "And that's where you come in." The cassette stopped. Lucas stared at it. No. He rewound it. Played it again. Same words. Then he noticed something. There was another recording underneath. A second voice. Very faint. He increased the volume. A child's voice emerged. Lucas's voice. "Dad?" Then his father's voice. "Don't answer it." The child asked, "Why?" His father whispered, "Because it sounds like you." Lucas stood abruptly. The cassette player fell from the table. Something was knocking on the workshop door. Lucas didn't move. A child's voice came from outside. Dad? Lucas froze. The voice came again. Dad, it's me. Lucas' eyes filled with tears. He knew that voice. It was his own voice. The voice he had at 8 years old. Dad. Lucas slowly approached the door. Who are you? Silence. Then, you know. Lucas's hand reached for the handle. The radio suddenly screamed. A woman's voice shouted, "Don't open it!" Lucas stepped backward. The knocking stopped. Then the child's voice whispered, "You're learning." Lucas looked toward the radio. Learning what? The answer came from behind him. How to be me. Lucas turned. His reflection stood in the workshop, not in the glass. In the room, it looked exactly like him. Same face, same clothes, same scar, same eyes. But it was standing several feet away. Lucas couldn't move. The copy smiled. You've been wondering which one of us came back. Lucas whispered, "We're not real." Neither are you. The copy walked toward him. Lucas backed away. What do you want? Your voice. Why? Because mine isn't complete. Lucas stared at it. What does it mean? Copy stopped. 22 voices. It pointed toward the radio. 22 dead. Then it pointed toward Lucas. 1 missing. Lucas felt the blood drain from his face. 23rd. Exactly. The radio switched on. Static. Then voices. 1, 2, 3. Lucas recognized them. The victims. They began counting. 1, 2, 3. Lucas backed away. Stop. 4, 5, 6. The voices continued. 7, 8, 9. Lucas covered his ears. Stop. 10, 11, 12. The copy watched him. 13, 14, 15. Lucas screamed, "Stop!" 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Silence. Lucas opened his eyes. The radio went quiet. The copy leaned closer. And now it whispered, 23. A new voice came through the radio. Lucas' mother's voice. Lucas. He froze. She whispered, "I'm still here." Lucas began crying. "Mom?" The copy smiled. "You shouldn't answer." Lucas stared at it. "Why?" The copy whispered, "Because she isn't calling you." The radio crackled. His mother's voice became distorted. "Lucas!" Then another voice joined it. His father's. Lucas. Then the child's voice. Lucas. Then Daniel Mercer. Lucas. Then every voice together. Lucas. The entire room began vibrating. The radio dial spun wildly. 87.1, 91.3, 104.7, nothing. Then it stopped. 89.7 FM. WCRP, the original station. The frequency that had been destroyed 37 years ago. The copy looked toward the radio. It's time. For what? For the final broadcast. Lucas grabbed the radio and threw it against the wall. It shattered. For the first time, there was silence. The copy stared at him, then smiled. You still don't understand. Lucas breathed heavily. What? The radio was never the transmitter. Lucas looked around. The copy touched its chest. We are. Every voice inside the room screamed. Lucas fell to his knees. Then the walls began changing. The workshop disappeared. The motel appeared. Then the radio station. Then his childhood bedroom. Then room 18. The locations flickered around him like channels being changed. Finally, everything stopped. Lucas stood inside the old WCRP studio. The microphone was directly in front of him. The red light came on. On air. He looked through the glass. 23 burnt figures stood on the other side. 22 remained completely still. The 23rd was missing. Lucas looked toward the copy. It was gone. His father's voice came through the headphones. Lucas, he put them on. Don't speak. Lucas whispered. Why? His father answered. Because once you say your name, static. It knows which one of you is real. Lucas stared at the microphone. A voice whispered through the headphones. His own. Say it. Lucas shook his head. Say your name. He remained silent. The voice became louder. Say your name. Lucas closed his eyes. Then he heard something behind the studio glass. A little boy was standing there. 8 years old. Lucas stared at him. The child raised his hand and pointed toward the microphone. Then he mouthed 2 words. That's not me. Lucas opened his eyes. The microphone was no longer empty. Someone was sitting in front of him. Someone wearing his face. Someone wearing his clothes. Someone who looked exactly like him. The figure leaned toward the microphone and began speaking. Good evening. My name is Lucas Hale. But Lucas never said it. The police later recovered the recording, and when they analyzed the voice, they discovered something impossible. The voice belongs to Lucas, but the recording was made 37 years ago. Then, beneath the recording, another voice whispers, "Now we only need to find the real one." The final sound is a child's laughter. 2:13 a.m. And somewhere in the darkness, a fifth voice answers. Well, they continue copying people, impersonating them, and making them disappear. Thank you for listening. This was The White Raven. If you like the story, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications, share it with someone you think might also enjoy it. Leave us a comment. We love reading them. If you have a story and would like it narrated here, send it to thewhiteravenstories@gmail.com. This was The White Raven. Till next time.